are the New York Knicks. I'm back in New York. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks taking no shorts just like winter.
New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Hey everybody, welcome to the New York Knicks podcast, part of the Lineups Podcast Network at lineups.com, the Big Heads Media Podcast at bigheadsmedia.com, Big Heads Media Network, bigheadsmedia.com, and Dash Radio. Yes, go to our website, the NewYorkKnicksPodcast.com, and use code NYKP on our sponsor. Do you know our sponsor, Mark?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm giving you a pop quiz because I know you usually fall asleep during the intro, so I want to know.
The intro is so goddamn long. It's almost as painful as the Knicks season. Our sponsor is Apple. I need a new iPhone. Apple sent me an iPhone. I like your iPhone.
Close. The NewYorkKnicksPodcast.com/ticket club. Use code NYKP for 20% off.
I actually, Apple has a special for us. Have you heard about it?
What is that?
You send them $700, they'll send me an iPhone.
Hmm.
So our listeners have to send Apple $700 and I get an iPhone. I think it's a great deal. Tell them when you buy it, tell them NYKP, whatever letters, I don't know. Go Knicks, go, and give my address. Okay, cool. Let's give Jay's address. I want to give Jay. Give your address out.
What phone actually is $700 now? Isn't it like $1,000?
Actually, the iPhone SE. They're like the version for cheap people like myself. It's about $420. I think I'm gonna get it this week.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna get a new phone. I'm upgrading from the 6. That's exciting Knicks news.
I've never heard
This
of that.
show's off to a roaring start, just like the Knicks season. Do you know what's happening? What big news is happening very, very soon in Knicks world?
No, I don't. Tell me.
September 4th or 5th, the Knicks are allowed to start practicing very soon. The NBA has said the 8 teams that did not make the bubble are allowed to practice soon. This is going to be awesome. I can't wait to hear what happens at practice.
This is how hard it's been to do the show lately. We're getting updates about when they're allowed to practice.
Yeah, rumor has it, if everyone plays well and does not get COVID during practice, the entire team gets participation trophies. Yeah, Knicks, this is awesome. Then they get to play, I was going to say in December, but rumor has it the NBA is going to push back the season, so maybe never will the Knicks get to play again. I'm so excited.
It's really, really great times to be doing a podcast about the Knicks when they don't play for 9 straight months. This is really good.
And this is what we do with our it's not like we have some big salary doing this. We're just doing this because we're freaking morons. This is like what we like to do with our time. Anyway, this is all voluntary. They had the NBA draft lottery since the last show. Jay did not think it was worth doing an emergency episode because Jay is not a true Knicks fan. So it's been a week and a half. Jay, fill our listeners in on what happened in the NBA draft lottery.
Well, this is why we didn't do a show. The Knicks had the, 6th worst record?
6th worst record. There's only one way to go. You can only move down. You can only move up or down, whatever.
Go down or go home.
Go down or go home.
That's the Knicks lottery slogan. So yeah.
I mean, at least we should. All the fans should be cheering. At least we didn't get the 9th pick.
So we were like, should we do a show?
So that means 7 guys in this draft will be awesome.
Yeah, it'll be a 7 player draft. So we were debating, should we do an emergency episode? Should we not? And then I was like,
I don't think we were debating. I just said, let's do an episode. And you're like, no, nothing goes on. I hate this team.
Well, that's a debate. That's a debate. And we decided that we will do a show if something good happens. And as you can see, there was no show.
Yes, that was what we decided. So some positives about what happened with the Knicks. I mean, obviously, there's no great positive in falling back 2 places in the draft, but is the 6th pick and the 8th pick that different in this draft? I will
Probably.
argue to you, Jay, that because the NBA college season ended early,
Mm-hmm.
there's not as much. It's harder to evaluate these players, and because it's harder to evaluate these players, the Knicks have a better chance of just screwing up and accidentally getting a good player.
That's one way to look at it.
Well, I feel like even going into the draft, even going into before COVID hit, everyone agreed this was a bit of a weaker draft class. They agreed that it wasn't like top heavy like Zion last year. Zion and who's the other good player that got picked before?
Ja.
Yeah. And basically Ja and Zion were the draft last year. This year, really 1 through 10, there are a bunch of players who are pretty decent and could end up being good, but it's not a top-heavy draft. You'd agree. Like people
So
say
you're
Anthony
saying
Edwards is the best player, but he even didn't have a great college season.
So you're saying they'll continue their trend of messing up the draft, but they might actually mess it up positively for once.
Right, because realistically, because it's so much harder to evaluate this draft class, someone good might fall to the Knicks, and the Knicks might take him for the wrong reason or something. I don't know. Somehow the Knicks might get this right because of other teams above them will get it wrong because of it's hard to scout these guys.
It's entirely possible. I feel like after nobody's even set on the number one. I feel like this entire draft is a toss up. I mean, obviously, it's better to have. Some people, I think they're crazy people, say it doesn't matter what draft pick you have as long as you have a good scout. That's not true. It's a lot easier if you have a top 3 pick, but
right
in a draft like this, who knows?
I mean, so Anthony Edwards is people think he might be the top pick. He didn't have a great year. There are a lot of people say that they don't think he's really a number 1 talent. Weissman, who's also a top 3 pick, they say he's not an extend the floor center. There's a lot of knocks on his game. LaMelo Ball can't seem to shoot. No one's a perfect prospect here. So there's a chance, just like the year Donovan Mitchell fell to 12 or 13, there could easily be a guy who's really good here who'll just fall because it's hard to pick these guys.
I mean, there always is. Every draft, you have somebody between 10 and 25 that ends up blowing up, but it's never the Knicks. But you never know. Maybe this time.
Well, I mean, look at it. You look at it this way. It used to be guys used to play 4 years in college, and you had a pretty decent idea of who they were coming out of college.
Yeah.
Now, they talk about who the top high school prospects are, and then then the following year they do guys go to college, and suddenly the list of who's the top prospect changes. So if these guys stuck around to another year for their sophomore year, the list might change again. In some ways, if a guy's a late bloomer, the Knicks could catch him. I'm just saying, after your freshman year, where most of these guys are freshmen, you're really not locked into who's the best player here.
Yeah.
So what the Knicks will do is take the youngest player, just because they fetishize age, and be like, oh my God, he's 12 years old. Can you believe how good he'll be in 10 years when he's allowed to be in the NBA?
I mean, he can't shoot or play defense now, but that's all he needs to add to his game.
The Knicks drafted a fetus. Oh my God, in 18 years, look how good he'll be.
I mean, he's not good at basketball, but if he gets good at basketball, he'll be a really good basketball player.
Right. We have paid for the sperm of Jordan. If we get lucky and that sperm uses to conceive, we get that player eventually.
But we'll trade it away.
We'll trade it away.
All right.
The Knicks get a fetus on a 4-year contract.
In other Knicks news, Mike Woodson.
Knicks news?
Yeah, Mike Woodson is coming back.
Oh, by the way, just right now looking at the 2020 mock draft from Tankathon, they have the Knicks taking Obi Toppin. Obi, I don't know how to pronounce the guy's name, so he should be a Knick. He's a power forward. Do you think the Knicks should they be drafting a power forward?
Yeah, because it's hilarious that they just keep doing that.
I mean, they need a point guard. You would think
I want them to draft a power forward and then sign 3 power forwards in free agency and just call it a day.
Even the mock drafts make fun of the Knicks. I don't know anything about this guy Topin. We will study up and learn before. I think the draft is happening in 2030. This is so goddamn. They said the draft might be. It's October. It might be moved back. Okay, go on. Mike Woodson's back.
Mike
Tell me more.
Woodson, you might remember him from the last time the Knicks made the playoffs. So
Oh, so that was a long time ago.
that was a long time ago. So he is going to be
How long ago was that, Jay?
6 years ago, I believe.
I think you're wrong. 7, right?
Oh God, yeah,
The 54 win season was 12-13, right?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, wow. So yeah, he's going to be assistant coach. So I like the.
Why does the guy that was the last guy to lead them to the playoffs not get to be head coach?
I don't know. I have no idea. But I mean, we know he can coach, and we know Thibodeau can coach. So I like the coaching staff.
I have a question though. Isn't Woodson more of a defensive coach? He's not like if you're just gonna say like offensive defensive, he's more of a defensive guy, right?
Yeah, so it's good to pair him with a defensive. Wait,
I would just say once you want to pair Thibodeau with a guy who's, and I guess there are other assistant coaches that are probably more offensive minds. I'm just surprised. Whatever. Welcome back, Woodson. I'm glad to have you. We criticized him at the time for having the players switch on every play on defense, but now the whole league does that.
ahead of his time. We had D'Antoni.
D'Antoni, yeah, we had D'Antoni. We had if you combine D'Antoni and Woodson, that's what the NBA is doing now.
Yeah, pretty much. So the Knicks either have completely horrible coaches or coaches that are just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, so the whatever next innovator the Knicks get, they'll waste him, and then the whole league will be doing that in 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm still so right now the Knicks have tried to put together some kind of dream team of like front office execs and coaching staff. How do you feel about this whole how do you feel about all this? The coaches, the front office?
I am pretty happy with the coaches. I am not as excited about the front office.
Why?
I have a bad feeling that they're only going to go after people with ties to CAA.
Okay. What if I told you that no one who's good wants to sign here? Would that make things easier or harder for you?
We already know that.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we're going to be picking like C-list guys, I'd rather have a pool of the whole NBA instead of just CAA C-list guys.
Well, to talk about what the Knicks are going to try to do, SNY's Ian Begley said a couple things.
Okay.
He said that the Knicks would like to try to trade up for LaMelo Ball, which I don't know what would they even be able to trade up to get the LaMelo Ball. And not that I think the Knicks really should target LaMelo Ball, but what would it take to move up in the draft to be a top 3 pick?
Well, definitely the 8.
Well, yes, that's a given. Given you have to give your own first round pick, maybe next year's pick also, which I don't think you're even allowed to do. Or maybe you can do it in the same if you do it during that draft.
If it's next year's pick, I'm done.
Why? That next year's pick's gonna be number 8 also.
It might be better, and it's a deeper draft. You could throw in maybe
is next year the double draft, or is that the year after? The double draft meaning the year that high school kids are allowed to go in the draft also.
Right. I don't remember. I just know next year is supposed to be a better draft, so the Knicks better keep their own pick. So,
you know what? What? I guess. Where are they now? Nick almost draft pick, where Denver took the draft pick and turned him into Jamal Murray, who's been lighting shit up in the playoffs.
He said 2 50-point games already.
So the Knicks, was that part of the Carmelo deal? That draft pick was the part of the Carmelo deal, right?
I think so.
I mean, the Knicks probably would have taken Jamal Murray, and they probably would have ruined his career. But
it just makes that trade even worse, though.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I don't want to trade any draft picks. Young guys, take any of them. I don't care.
Even Barrett?
Yeah.
Would you trade Barrett and the 8th pick to move up to the
I
number
feel
3
like
pick to get LaMelo?
I'm not excited about Barrett, but I feel like that would be too much, especially when there's so many questions
about LaMelo.
I would not want to. I feel like maybe Barrett just for LaMelo would be fair, but like to throw in the 8th pick as well is too much.
First of all, I'm pretty sure we would take Barrett and LaMelo, and the Knicks might have to throw something else in. Just because our teams value top picks now, I don't think Barrett for the pick would get it done.
I probably wouldn't do it then. I don't think that LaMelo's a guy that you want to start trading away multiple assets for.
Why? He comes from a good family.
Yeah. Everyone else from that family's worked out well so far. I just feel like if you're saying he can't shoot and he's a weak defender, it's like, well, we have a whole team of that right now.
That is true. So he shot, just to give you, he played in Australia, and again, he played 12 games, so not exactly like a huge sampling.
Yeah.
I know he played 12 games, and we're like, we know everything about him. He'll be a star. It's crazy because a lot of guys play like they're really good coming out of high school and end up not having an NBA career. But we're willing to bank on guys now for who. Anyway, he shot 37% from the field and 25% from three. He shot over 6 threes a game.
That's really bad.
Dreadful shooter.
That's really bad.
He could get better. There's no reason he can't get better. But to be like, this guy's going to be amazing. Again, I didn't see too much of him playing. The highlights, he's a great passer. They think he has a really great feel for the game. But holy crap, like these are some pretty poor shooting numbers.
I mean, if he was at like 30%, you'd be like, okay, he's close. But 25% is really bad.
I mean, it's also really bad because he's shooting so many goddamn threes.
Well, it's really bad. No, I would say it's even worse because if he only shot a couple, you'd be like, all right, he didn't get in a groove. When he's shooting that much, you're like, holy, he's just really bad.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with you. If he was shooting like one 3-pointer a game and he was shooting 25%, you'd be like, well, that's not a big part of his game. This is actually, the shooting the threes are a big part of what he does. He does it poorly.
Yeah.
That's a lot of threes to be so bad at.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
That said, he might be the thing is, he's a great passer. He might be really good at leading your offense. Dude, if the Knicks were picking top 3, I would say, yeah, why not take a chance on him? I would be totally down to take a chance on him.
Yeah.
I just don't know if you really want to give up so much to get him if is it really worth it?
No, I agree. And yeah, it seems like it's too much to give up. And I mean, people were saying almost the same thing about his brother, and his brother isn't exactly lighting up the league.
He's a solid player, but he's not a game changer he's not a game changer on the current team he's on.
Yeah, exactly. And you would think that he should be.
They say LaMelo's better than his brother. So and his father's the best of all of them. LeVar, he's amazing. So Begley went on to say that, or Ian Begley's went on to say, he doesn't see just based on what he knows, he doesn't see the Knicks cashing in their chips this offseason. They will instead sign complementary veterans to improve the on-the-court product and make the team as competent as possible.
The Knicks bringing competent back.
So what does that say to you? We're going to make the team look slightly less terrible on the floor because I mean, it just sounds like they're going to be like, we can't be terrible next year, so we'll try to shoot for mediocre and never go anywhere.
Yeah, competent sounds like we just don't want to be an embarrassment. And if your goal is to just not be an embarrassment, that's not good.
Right. I understand that the Knicks were like, we're going to shoot for some of the top free agents in this class. If we don't get it, then we'll go with complimentary chips and fine. Have a plan. What's the plan? Next year when Greek Freak is a free agent, your plan is to like, well, I'm sure the Greek Freak will want to sign here because everyone wants to play at the Mecca. I don't know. And I don't know what this is going to do for them. It's another season of the exact same crap where the team doesn't get better. Bunch of veterans take minutes from the young guys. What's the goddamn point?
I'll get back to you on that one.
I don't know. I mean, and I know you have to spend a certain amount of money, so they're going to have to give away big but it just seems like it's going to be, you're going to sign these veterans for big contracts, then find trouble finding minutes for the young guys. And the young guys, like a guy like Knox, you're like, well, he should play because he's a young guy, but he's also terrible, so who even cares? I guess until when some of the young players are actually good, nothing's even going to matter. Like if Barrett any young player that's good will play. It's just a matter of, it's hard to talk about this team.
It is. So
also, just to finish it off, the Knicks are also going to target guards and wings that can shoot. That will be their primary offseason target.
This is really enlightening stuff.
Yes, it is. I guess that means like Bertans and Joe Harris and bring guys in for like $20 million a year, overpay them, and so hopefully we don't look like a complete shit show on the floor on the court.
Yeah.
Okay, playoffs. You want to talk about the playoffs, or what do you want to talk about?
Let's do a few questions and then we'll go to the playoffs.
Okay. By the way, when we say we're talking about the playoffs, that means we're moving away from the Knicks. A topic we'll never discuss with the Knicks again is the playoffs.
Right. All right.
Do give me some questions.
So David writes, I've got a left field idea for next year. Before I get into it, let's agree next year for the Knicks is a wash no matter what. I think that's safe to say. Even with another high draft pick, we don't have enough talent to either significantly improve or trade for anyone worthwhile. Even if we sign an okay free agent like Van Fleet, we aren't going anywhere. We need to tank at least for one more year. If we have a decent player from this year's draft and a top 5 pick the year after, we actually have a chance to at a decent young core. And if we want to trade for someone decent, we actually have some assets. In saying that, here's my left field idea. Decline most of our player options next year. Free a mountain of cap space and sign Carmelo Anthony to a 1-year absolute bomb max contract. Only 1 year. Hear me out. We pay him a bomb to do a farewell tour. Leon Rose can blame the past treatment of Carmelo on Phil Jackson and spend a whole year saying this is a new management and how its management will treat players, first class all the way. In the meantime, Melo can talk up New York as the greatest place to play ever and talk up new management and pump the storyline of a superior superstar coming to New York and conquering the greatest challenge in sports, winning a championship in New York. I know we can probably get Melo for the minimum, but we should pay him the absolute max just to paint the picture that we are righting past wrongs and going to treat players and legends of the game with the utmost respect. All this being bullshit, by the way. That's what he wrote. At the same time, we play the young guys massive minutes to either develop or decide we don't want them, tell them they have 1 year to prove something to us or they are gone for good. As you both said a million times, we have to spend our cap space money on something. Why pay the Bobby Portises of the world for nothing when we could at least pay Melo for a storyline, some good PR, tank, develop the young guys, and still build assets? What do you think? By the way, I don't think anyone would actually buy the PR storyline, but we have absolutely nothing to lose. At least make another year of tanking interesting. Cheers. Thank you, David. So it's interesting as far as trying to trick people into thinking we're not a dysfunctional mess of a franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of like that angle. You're right. I think everyone would see through it, and I'm not sure it would have much of an effect.
I guess my only issue is I don't know if you want. I mean, Melo is good as I don't know if he's going to have to play 35 minutes a night, and do you want him being the all-star that teaches younger players how to do you want him to be the example for your younger players? At the same time, I don't want Bobby Portis to be the example for my younger players either. So
Yeah.
This is not a bad idea. Sure, sounds good to me.
Jorge writes, wanted to be optimistic with the 8th pick, but remembered we chose Knox over Michael Porter Jr. and Frank over Donovan. Best case scenario, we get Cole Anthony. Yeah, the Knicks don't have a good track record with number 8 picks, do they?
No, they don't. They don't have a good track record with pretty much anything.
Okay, Dave writes.
What do you think about Victor Oladipo? That the rumor is the Knicks are going to go after Victor Oladipo. He's got 1 year left on a $21 million contract. Was an all-star. Obviously had a bad year with an injury like this past year. What do you think about that?
It'd be an upgrade in our roster. I don't know if he's going to be healthy. I mean,
right. You don't know if he's going to be healthy, but with this team, you have to take swings. There's no way we're going to get good by just going I only want to take – I want to be as conservative as possible with moves. You want to get better, you got to make big swings and see how they go.
I mean, I would do it. I don't know if I would go a full I don't know how much I would pay.
Right.
I wouldn't do a full max.
He's 28 years old, was an all-star, obviously has a ton of talent. I just don't know what I'd give. I'm not going to give my 8th pick for him. I don't know, maybe if it was just it's going to be cost more than this, but I was going to say if it's a Chicago pick, if not the Dallas picks, maybe I would do the Dallas picks.
Both of them?
Yeah, maybe I do both Dallas picks. Is that
Porzingis
crazy?
says a torn meniscus. Those Dallas picks might get better now.
Dallas has a top 5 player in the NBA. It will not get better. Doncic will make them a good team. Doesn't matter what Porzingis does.
I mean, Doncic is amazing.
Doncic is that shot. And obviously they've lost the series now and whatever. That shot he hit against the Clippers was just goddamn insane, and he is unbelievable. We would be just doing parades for him every day in New York if the Knicks had him.
Oh my God.
I would rename this the Doncic podcast if he was a Knick.
But you know what? Instead of moving up in the draft to get Doncic, we built a winning culture.
Yes. We can complain about it all we want. The Knicks won like 3 games to end that season for no good reason because it was all about winning, and they fell in the draft and they did not get Doncic. I mean, really, best case scenario for the Knicks is that they would have been in the position to get Doncic and they would have traded him for
Trae Young.
What's his name? Trae Young. Yeah, that's what the Knicks would have done. And I don't know how you even like if you're a Hawks fan, are you just like, okay, I'm just done with your team. I can't ever root for this team ever again.
I'd be so. You'd have to just be in denial and convince yourself that Trae Young is great.
Trae Young is fine. He's a solid player. He could be an all-star. Like, he's a good player. He's just not Doncic. And just that trade is just idiotic.
It is.
Yeah. But so what would you give up for Oladipo? Would you even make a move for him? The $21 million next year is worth nothing because, like, we just have to fill cap space anyway.
Yeah. No, I would do like a, maybe 1-1.
No. I mean, what would you get? What would you trade to get him? He ain't coming free.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you don't have to sign him. You don't have to sign him yet, but you can sign him later. But
all my offers would be take your pick of the young guys. You're not touching the draft picks.
Have you heard of this guy Ntilikina?
I'll just show them the highlights of the 3 nice shots Knox took. Be like, please don't look at any other footage of Knox. Just watch these 3 shots.
I would not part with Barrett, and I guess I would not part with Robinson. Though maybe outside of that, any young player you want, you can just by all means. We got this guy Ignis Izzy Bragdus. I can't even say his name. Just take him.
Yeah, the Knicks brass. You don't even pronounce it right. We got Izzy Bragdus. You want him?
You want a Bragdus? I don't think the Knicks are getting Van Vliet, by the way. I think he's going to end up staying with the Raptors. But I think the Knicks should try to overpay to get him. Why not?
All right. Dave writes, step 1. This is his second offseason option.
Okay, cool.
How about we trade Mitch and our pick to Golden State for the number 2 for LaMelo. To Golden State for number 2 for LaMelo. Trading Mitch hurts, but we are Knicks fans. We always overrate our own players. He couldn't stay on the floor at all last season and didn't show significant improvement from year 1 to year 2. And what's his absolute ceiling? Clint Capella? Even if he reaches his absolute ceiling, he isn't a team centerpiece. Trade for LaMelo.
Golden State's like, we were going to do this trade, then we happened to listen to the Knicks podcast, and one of the listeners had a good point in their email. Mitch sucks. We're not doing this trade.
Step 2, overpay to sign Fred VanVleet. Step 3, trade Julius Randle, Knox, and both Dallas picks for Chris Paul and Nerlens Noel. A really poor man's Mitch, but will block shots and rim run. Next year we can.
Is Noel still in the league?
Yeah, he's on OKC. He played good minutes for OKC in the playoffs.
Oh, okay. Didn't he turn that $80 million deal a number of years ago?
Yeah, he's done.
Yeah.
Next year, we can start a 3-guard lineup with LaMelo, VanVleet, and Paul, and RJ at the 4. Probably more realistic is start Paul, VanVleet, RJ, and have LaMelo come off the bench for his first 2 years until Paul's contract is up. Not the best team, but better than now.
It's a lot better than now. I'm down. Sounds good. Get it done. Call the Knicks. Call Rose and get that in motion.
That's also the Knicks motto for next year. Not the best team, but better than now.
Oh my God.
Haggai writes, is RJ Barrett a 4? Before you say no, here are some similarly sized players that play the 4.
Wait, is RJ Barrett a 4?
Yeah.
Go on.
DeMar DeRozan, I don't think DeMar DeRozan plays the 4. I think he plays the 2.
He's played the 4, I think, but go on. In like a really small ball lineup.
Brandon Ingram.
I mean, Ingram's how big is RJ? I thought RJ's like 6'7".
Yeah.
Or let's see. He says here he's 6'6". Ingram's like 6'9", isn't he?
I thought so. He says same height, 4-inch longer wingspan.
Brandon Ingram is 6'7". Okay. I thought Ingram was okay.
He looks taller. I guess it's because of his long arms.
Yeah, I mean we're talking about an inch. Okay.
Jason Tatum, who is 1 inch taller, same wingspan.
Okay.
And Otto Porter, Robert Covington, Draymond Green, and others. So the measurements are all within margin of error, and RJ is stronger than these players physically. Playing him at the 4 allows us to more easily add two-way players around him who can, at minimum, give 3 and D. Traditional stretch 4s that can do that are just harder to find. RJ is a bigger threat closer to the basket at this point in his development, but can still stretch the floor better than Julius, who will shoot less than 30% from 3 for most of his career, including last season. So what do you think?
I think an RJ's a 3. I mean, I think that'd be a really small ball lineup to play him with the 4. I see him getting. He's not there strength. He's a strong player, but he's not there strength wise to really handle a lot of 4s in the NBA. I don't see him banging down low. He doesn't stretch the floor. He's not like. I don't see he's not insanely quick. Like I don't see what you're getting out of him at the 4. I feel like he's more of a 3. Who the hell knows? Whatever.
I would say that you can do that in spurts depending on matchups. I wouldn't want to do that full time, but depending on the matchup, you can do that.
I don't think he's a 2. I guess he's no more a 4 than he's a 2, really.
The thing is, the Knicks have a lot of players where you're like, I don't even know what position this guy is.
I mean, you don't necessarily have to have the traditional positions. I mean, he does a lot on the floor. He's obviously a great passer. He's got a decent handle. He can drive to the basket. He just needs to his shot needs to get better. That's as big as anything. He's a solid defender. I wouldn't mind him guarding your 3s. The Knicks could do better at the 4, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. If you're telling me I have a really good 3, sure, move him to the 4. If I have a good 4, move him to the 3. You can move him around a little bit.
Brandon writes, hey guys, been listening to both shows since Melo became a Knick. So if you don't know, we have a comedy podcast called The Brink of Sanity. You can check that out on iTunes or brinkofsanityshow.com. I would like to know what each of you would do with the 3 draft picks we have and what you think the Knicks will do with them. So that's 2 different questions. What we would do and what the Knicks will do with them.
I would do something smart. The Knicks will not do something smart. Done.
I would not trade them.
I don't know enough about the point guards in the draft to know who's best, but supposedly at least a few. There's enough point guards that are all around the same level. The Knicks should take a point guard with their first pick. I think it's insane not to. I know you're supposed to take the best guy available. The Knicks need a goddamn point guard more than anything. I mean, I guess the Knicks need probably. They have Barrett and they probably need 4 other players. But I'm going to go point guard my first pick. And my second pick, you take best guy available. Hopefully a guy that can goddamn shoot.
I think the Knicks are going to stand pat. And no. Actually, I think the Knicks might package all that. Maybe all 3 to get LaMelo.
I don't know if it's going to work to get LaMelo. I don't know if that moves. If a team really thinks LaMelo is the answer, they're not going to trade him away for 2 late first-round picks.
But what if the team say LaMelo goes 3rd? What if the team drafting 3rd feels the way we do about LaMelo?
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance he falls somewhat in the draft. But, okay, looking at this draft, Minnesota drafts first. They have D'Angelo. Do they draft LaMelo?
I don't think so.
Golden State. Do they draft LaMelo? They have Steph, obviously. You could draft LaMelo next to Steph, but I'm not sure exactly where he's going to go. I can go through the rest of the teams, but him falling to 8th seems a huge stretch because he's probably going to be a top 4 maybe top 5 pick. And I feel like moving up is just going to be really tough.
What if he falls to 5th and the 5th place, whoever's drafting 5th is like, yeah, we'll take 3 picks for him?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess. So I do agree with you. This front office, because of the new front office, they're going to be looking to make a splash. So they're probably going to do something just stupid. And this falls in line with something stupid they can do.
Yeah, I would just draft at those spots. I would use all 3 draft picks on the Knicks. I think the Knicks try and get fancy and package
by the way,
it to make a splash.
When you say 3 picks, are you talking about the Knicks have their own pick and the Clippers pick this year? The Dallas pick is next year.
Don't they have a second rounder too?
Oh, they have a second rounder, yes. They have a second rounder this year also.
Yeah.
But I don't think a second rounder and a late first rounder is going to get you that far up, that much higher in the draft.
Well, that's why I was saying if he falls to like 5th.
Maybe. But then you're like, Cleveland's 5th, and maybe they're like, why?
Well, Cleveland, yeah, because Cleveland they drafted point guards in the last 2 drafts.
That's true. And Atlanta already has a point guard, so maybe he falls to Detroit. Maybe.
Right, and then Detroit's like, yeah, I'll take 3 draft picks.
In theory, even if you don't get LaMelo, the top 7 teams in front of you, there's not enough teams that really need point guards, that you should be able to get a pretty good point guard in this draft. And also, LaMelo's shooting numbers are so atrocious that and not that anyone else is so amazing, but I don't know. I'd roll my dice with a point guard. Second round, my late first round pick should be a guy that can shoot. It just has to be an athletic player that can shoot. I don't care what position he plays. Even another point guard. I don't care. Just someone that can shoot. And then my second round pick has to be someone who's kind of a I don't know. I guess another guy that can shoot. Just keep drafting guys that can shoot. Best
player available every time.
I don't know. Like I watch that guy Iggy. I seen a little bit of his highlights from the G League. He doesn't look all that athletic. I don't think he's going to be anything. Find guys that are just more athletic.
Mm-hmm.
Guys that play defense. Like I don't know. I think Iggy basically stayed in the G League all year because the Knicks, like the brass, evaluated him and just said, "Why the hell was this guy drafted?" I don't think he's anything that special.
Yeah, I mean.
And the Knicks really, what they should be doing, I've said this before, players should be sent to the G League. The guys they draft should all start the league of the year in the G League. They should play a lot in the G League, develop these players.
I'm all for development. Last email. The New York Knicks, nyknickspodcast@gmail.com is our email. Axel writes, with the Knicks inevitably falling to 8th in the upcoming draft, it's funny, I think. Oh, no. Okay. I thought this was a prediction.
Old email?
I thought it was a prediction email. No, this is after. In the upcoming draft, LaMelo Ball and Killian Hayes, who are the top 2 point guards, will probably both be off the board. What do you think about drafting Devin Vassell? He's a 6'7" wing with 6'10" wingspan and the best team defender in the entire draft. He's also a lights-out shooter, 41.7% from 3 in college, and is known as a vocal leader. He's supposed to have the highest floor in the draft, at least being a solid 3-and-D player. Or are you more willing to draft for need and reach a little bit for point guards Cole Anthony or Kira Lewis, for example?
Yeah, so Killian is the next point guard everyone talks about. I've heard people talk up Vassell. Maybe. If he can actually shoot, that'd be a huge improvement on this team.
I'm always a proponent of best player available.
Yeah, I just want a point guard. I don't know. I mean, the point guard on this team is just terrible, if not. I mean, maybe the guy who the draft is not going to be good, but who's our point guard next year?
I don't know. But I just feel like if you're not going to be satisfied with the point guard, what's the point of drafting one just to have one?
Though, if the Knicks, the year after Ntilikina, they were like, we still need a point guard, maybe we got a point guard.
I still think best player.
Yeah. Because that was, what's his name on Oklahoma? Who's kind of not a point guard. He's shooting guard / point guard. He plays next to Paul. But he would be nice to get.
Yeah.
Halliburton, people have talked up. He's supposed to be good. There aren't that many. I don't know. Yeah, Vassell. Yeah, why not? It's also this draft. It's just. I know it's supposed to be like sometime in October and possibly pushed back. That just seems like still so goddamn far from now.
I know. All right, that's all the emails we have.
A couple Facebook questions.
We have
Hey, guys.
We have 15 minutes.
Okay. Julian writes, "Hey guys, new coaching staff. What do you guys think of each of them?"
I mean, it sounds like they're in the right direction. They're getting, guys who are into analysis, the guys that are into numbers. They got defensive guys. It seems like they have a good, well-rounded coaching staff.
Seems like it's going in the right direction. James writes, "Is this the most promising looking front office and coaching staff in the last 20 years?"
It might be, because even when we had what looked like a decent coach, we didn't seem like we were terribly impressed with the assistant coach or anybody else around there. So it seems like it's
I mean, the best coach we've had in the last 20 years is arguably Woodson, who's now on the staff.
Yeah.
So I don't know who's been better. I guess 20 years, does that include the end of Van Gundy? Because obviously Van Gundy I like better, but
has that 20 years expired? I think he was coach. I think 20 years ago he was actually in Houston by now.
What was his last year with the Knicks?
I don't even remember. I feel like it's longer than 20 years.
Was it in 01? Am I crazy?
I don't remember.
Oh,
Anyway.
whatever. Lewis writes, "Have you guys gone back over your playoff predictions from the beginning of the year?"
No, I don't think we did.
Maybe next show.
Yeah, let's do that next episode.
Why don't we check in on the playoffs? So what's going on in the playoffs?
Ask that on next week's question thread, please.
Okay. So why don't we go back to our predictions from last week or last show?
Okay.
So starting, which series do you want to start with?
Let's get the East out of the way because they all sucked.
Okay. You want to
so-
lead on this, or you want me to lead on this?
You could lead.
Okay, Miami. I told you. By the way, Miami beat Milwaukee tonight. Just to let you know.
Yeah, no, Miami's looking really good. I was feeling a little shaky on my pick when I realized Sabonis was out, and the series wasn't even close.
Yeah, no, that was they just tore through Indiana. Indiana has some injuries. Miami looks really good.
They do.
What do you think against their Milwaukee? Obviously, they had a I don't know if they had a scare. They lost the first game to Orlando, then they whipped through Orlando thereafter. There was also. Do you want to even mention the league shut down midweek?
Oh,
that was last week they shut. They had the protest. We can all agree. What do you think of the stance they took?
I was fine with it. I mean, what if they want to make a statement? Like, how else can they do it? Really?
Yeah, I mean, no one's gonna take notice unless you do something. I know, shocking. You catch people's attention by going, "We're not playing tonight."
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Wait, Milwaukee. What do you think's gonna happen? Milwaukee, Miami. Obviously Miami's won the first game. What are your thoughts on that series?
I think Milwaukee's going to win, but I think it's going to be a pretty long series. Six games, maybe 7.
Yeah. I mean, it could be. I mean, Milwaukee might rip through them, but Miami, they have so much shooting on that team,
Mhm.
and obviously, you have guys like Bam as center, who's a very solid defender, and the team kind of can run the offense through him at times. I think they're gonna cause more of a problem for Milwaukee than people expect.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really interesting series. Butler obviously is a very good player. Maybe also Milwaukee did not look as dominant. Not that losing one game to Orlando is the biggest of deals, but were you surprised they even lost that one game?
I was. I think maybe their confidence might be a little rattled. They thought they were going to, walk away with the first round. They lost the very first game. I mean, they did win the rest, but I wonder if they're like, that wasn't supposed to happen.
So Butler went for 40 tonight. He led them to victory. I think with this team, you have a bunch of guys who are pretty solid shooters from 3. They could go off on another night. I think they're going to give Milwaukee a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And I think Bam's a solid defender. He can give Greek Freak some problems. I think it's a very interesting matchup. I am disappointed I was doing the show with you instead of watching the game tonight. No offense, Jay.
None taken.
Celtics Philly. biggest takeaway from that series is how horrible Philly's future looks going forward.
Oh my goodness, they didn't follow Hinkie's process, and now they look like garbage.
I mean, in fairness, they were missing Simmons, which is a huge player to be missing, but they really didn't. They weren't that competitive.
No.
What do you think? So Celtics. You think Celtics or the Raptors? Who wins this series?
I still think the Raptors, but it's funny. I think the second round is going to be as good as the first round was bad.
Okay. I mean, this obviously better matchups.
Was that the worst first round we've ever seen?
The Denver series is the one good series left.
No, I mean for the East, just the East.
Oh, the East was terrible. I mean, the East has been bad has been bad a lot. The whole time LeBron was here, the East was pretty bad.
But I mean, there was 3 sweeps in a 5-game series that should have been a sweep. Like, I can't even remember seeing as a series a round that was that little competition.
So I'm going to take. By the way, I'm going to take Miami in 7 against Milwaukee. I'm going to take an upset.
Okay, all right.
Celtics, Raptors. Who are you taking?
I'm going to go.
And the Celtics have won game 1. Just obviously you know that, but
yeah, I'm going to go Raptors in 7.
Raptors in 7.
Yeah.
I kind of like that, but I'm going to go Raptors in 6.
Okay.
But Boston's really deep. It could be it's also another really interesting matchup.
Yeah.
Going to the West, we don't have that much time. I don't know. So you want to start with Denver, Utah? That game's not even over yet.
No, that's going to 7. That's
by far the best series of the entire playoffs so far.
Yeah. I mean, Murray having multiple 50-point games. Mitchell had a 50-point game.
Yeah, that's a hell of a series, hell of a matchup. Who do they have in the next round?
Who are they playing? That's the 4-5, so they would play the Lakers.
Okay, so what do you think the chances of them against the Lakers? So let's just either team, who is the best shot against the Lakers? And by the way, the Lakers, they lost 1 to Portland, then they took over the series, and as expected, they beat them. I would say of the 2 teams, I don't know. I think they're both an interesting matchup for the Lakers.
I feel like Denver.
I mean, I feel like Denver's the better of the 2 teams, so I'd kind of want them to play the Lakers.
Yeah.
And we also Houston, Oklahoma is still going on. I think did I pick Oklahoma in 7, or what did I pick?
Let's say yes.
Okay, why not? Houston's up 3-2. It'd be really interesting and pretty awesome if Oklahoma wins this series. I would love to see Houston lose here.
But then the comic factor of having Houston lose in the first round.
Okay, and then so the Clippers series against Dallas was pretty awesome. Or it was awesome for the first 4 games, and then Dallas took over. Then the Clippers took over. Who's the better matchup for the Clippers?
That's going to be another good one. I would say probably, I don't know. Houston's deeper than I thought they were.
They're deep. I mean, they're both like Houston can go off from 3. I mean, that's their entire strategy, and get Harden and put your teams in foul trouble with Harden. That's not been effective enough to actually get them to the finals any of the years, even though they've gotten pretty close doing so.
Yeah, I would rather see OKC.
Both second round series are going to be great.
Yeah, I'd rather see OKC.
I'd rather see OKC just because I'd prefer to watch that team basically more than anything.
Yeah.
What have you learned from the playoffs, Jay?
I've learned it's interesting when there's no home court advantage.
Yeah, that does take a lot away.
I kind of like it. Things I don't like is the touch fouls, the ejections, like the usual stuff. I really think they gotta let the players get a little scrappy.
Oh, by the way, we didn't touch on the biggest news, or I think you mentioned it briefly before, but KP being injured, which is the biggest news in basically KP being injured. So the Knicks trade looks slightly less atrocious is the biggest news. A top 5 story for the Knicks this year.
I mean, that's what, 0 for 5 as far as healthy seasons?
Yeah, so maybe he would have been not the best contract for the Knicks to sign. I mean, maybe the Knicks should have shopped him around the league at all. But yeah, when someone else gets injured, and it's good news for your team that's not in the playoffs, man, the team is awesome.
I was floored by how many people who are Mavs fans were nice enough to stop by and say hi on Twitter this week.
I'm amazed how many Knicks fans are still up for just talking about the Knicks on Twitter. I mean, I follow also a lot of fans or people who are Knicks accounts, basically, whether it be like professionals or just like fans.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just amazed. Nothing has gone on with your team for like the team's been terrible for 7 years. There's no games going on. The big news is the Knicks get to practice, and people are proposing like possible trades and like all different things about the Knicks over and over, like every day.
I'm also amazed that I play a game every morning. I go on Twitter and I see how many tweets I have to scroll through to find somebody praising Frank, and it's usually less than 5.
I am just amazed. People are just throwing out everything they can. Like, I don't understand how you could. You would just think like for like 2 months, people just would not discuss the Knicks on Twitter because they'd be like, "Well, nothing's going on with this team."
Yeah.
You'd think, but I'm playing the game now. How long could it take to get a Knicks tweet here? But go on. Anything else you want to say, Jay?
No, that's it. We are NY Knicks Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, Twitter, Patreon. Go to the NewYorkKnicksPodcast.com if you want to get a Knicks Podcast t-shirt, help support the show. And check out our other show, The Brink of Sanity, brinkofsanityshow.com. And we will be back in 2 weeks, the other thing I want to say, I love the every other day schedule. They haven't done this since, I think, the late 90s, early 2000s. And
It's
I just
so
love
much
it.
better. It is so much better. I agree with you, yeah.
Nobody likes waiting the players don't even like waiting 3-4 days between games.
Yeah, it's just...
It's like they play on a Monday and then the next game is like Friday or Saturday. It's ridiculous. Love every other day. You get a whole round done. I mean, because the East was terrible. You got the East was done in 8 days.
It's also just just having a game on all the time is just so much better.
Yeah, that too. It's like, we have 4 games every day. I like that.
Yeah.
So let's keep that.
Let's keep that.
When COVID's over, let's keep that part.
By the way, Knicks might pursue Justin Holiday this offseason. That's the first Knicks tweet. I was just scrolling. I found a Knicks tweet. Justin Holiday. You excited to return of Justin Holiday?
Oh my goodness. I can barely contain myself.
Okay, end the show.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Bye, love. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. It's all over. Goodbye. It's time to go. This is the end. Say goodbye. You can't go away. I'm gonna leave you. It's the end. Goodbye. Goodbye. Just leave me alone. Feels so good to say.